What is up, guys? So today I want to talk a little bit about this special guardian dungeon for Victorias, and I want to talk about the 3 RGB Victorias. We're going to talk a little bit about the best ones to fodder or the best ones to keep. We're going to talk about this weird banner that we've got going on here, and we're going to look a little bit at the Victoria skills. So definitely stick around if you want to see that, but before we get into the Victoria stuff, I do want to say make sure you like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my content, and also just to do a shameless plug, like I mentioned in my previous videos, my clan Titanfall, we are still recruiting, so we need both members and we need apprentices. So if you qualify for either one of those, then definitely apply. If you qualify to be an apprentice, apply as an apprentice first. If you don't qualify to be an apprentice, then apply to be a member. And you can do that either by directly requesting to join our clan in the game, or if you don't want to leave your clan first, then you can check out my clan recruitment video and fill out the form there if you want to know you have a spot first before you actually leave your current clan. If you want to do it like that, then you can check that out. Yeah, so without further ado, let's talk a little bit about these Victorias. So first of all, I want to talk about this banner, right? So it says Special Guardian Dungeon Victoria Open, and then they give us a picture of Dark Victoria. So if you guys have seen my dragon videos, you know that I'm a big fan of Dark Victoria in Dragons V10, and so I was really happy that when I first saw this banner, I thought that new players, we were actually going to have a chance to get a Dark Victoria for all the reasons I talk about in my dragons videos. If you want to check that out, then take a look at that. But she's great for that content. But what it looks like, guys, is whoever's in charge of these the graphics for this game, I think they got lazy, and because this looks like a banner I've seen in the past, so I think they got lazy and they ended up just changing the title or something, because we're not getting a Dark Victoria in these Special Guardian dungeons unless they decide to release that later on. It looks like we are only getting the RGB Victorias. Now that's no small thing, it's just weird that they would present the Dark Victoria as if she's the one that we are actually going to have a chance to farm, but she's not. So guys, sorry they got your hopes up. If you saw this and thought you were getting a Dark Victoria, that's not the case. But we should take outside of that, let's take a look at these guardian dungeons. So it looks like and I'm making this video well into the event, so we have already been farming the fire one. I think I've got 2 or 3 of those already, and I think what's happening is they're giving us enough Victoria stones to summon, I think it's at least 1 of the RGB ones each. So I guess we're going to get we're going to be able to get one fire, water, and 1 wood Victoria, as long as you kind of complete these dungeons. And so it's important for a few reasons. First of all, getting a Victoria kind of saves you some money, because there are at least 2 Victorias that are non-negotiable in having. 3 Victorias if you count the Dark and you actually have her. But there are definitely 2 Victorias that you have to have at some point in the game. Now I say have to have, but there are always caveats. You can play the game without them, but there are reasons to have those 2 Victorias. And to kind of just get into the the skills of these Victorias and take a look at which are the ones that I'm kind of talking about. So first of all, let's take a look at the Fire Victoria. So the Fire Victoria, she's got a pretty poor kit. So she's got a taunt that is dependent on crit, and she's got Petrify. This is not a great kit, guys. Her uses are questionable. Taunt is always questionable. I mean, it has its uses, and some people actually do a very good job in high-ranking PvP with using taunt, but they're not using a Fire Victoria built on crit. And then her Petrify is only 60%, so she's very mediocre, guys. The only reason to build this one would be to fill out your Asher guide. That is, unless they actually change her kit at some point in the game. But otherwise, she's just I think of her personally, in my opinion, she's just fodder. You can't even use her. I mean, she's not even that useful in Titans. So to move on, so the water one is next. Now the water one is one of the two that I was kind of saying are important to have. So water is important to have, number one, because she is part of getting her to Evo 3 will get you one step closer to fusing a Nat 5, so the Light Shiva. So the water one is farmable, but it's very expensive to farm them. So the fact that they're giving us free Victorias actually is saving us quite a bit of gold. So while you can farm the Victorias, it takes the water Victorias, it takes an enormous amount of gold, and spending that kind of gold there is a huge opportunity cost where, that gold could go into something else, like making Asher gems, or upgrading your gems or something like that, instead of you're making a Nat 4. And I do it periodically, but there is, like I said, it's an opportunity cost, the gold you give up to make a water Victoria. But she is good to have. Number one, for the fusion, you need to get her to Evo 3 for fusion. Number two, she's actually not bad in Titans. So since she's got Death Down on both of her skills, it doesn't matter whether she gets a blue soul or not. She's always going to do the same thing to the Titan. And the only thing that's kind of limiting is the fact that she's only got a 60% Death Down, which is a little small for a Titan's monster. Or any monster, really, when you're relying on trying to get a death break off on your opponent. But so she is one of the ones that I would suggest getting to Evo 3, but she's probably not the number one I would focus on first if I was a new player. But to move on to the and so to kind of backtrack to the water one, also she's got so all Victorias have a very good variant skill. So they all will raise attack between 30 and 35%, which is immensely important when you're trying to deal a lot of damage. And that's another reason why the Death Break one is useful. You can run her as an attack lead with your team to increase your damage on the Titans, if you want to do that, if you want to focus more on damage than sustainability. And okay, so with that, let's talk a little bit about the wood one. So the wood one, at the time making this video, we're in a little bit of a weird spot when it comes to the wood one, because normally, guys, I would say that the wood one kind of falls in the same category as the fire one, is complete fodder. But because there is the Jubilee event going on right now, we kind of have this opportunity to get a discounted Evo 3 Nat 4. And even if the Nat 4 is total trash, it's still a free Evo 3 Nat 4, right? So, and there's always this potential that in the future they might change a monster's kit. And so while 70% one turn stun, seems to have very few uses as of right now. You never know what she might look like in the future. And at a minimum, you can at least just fill out your Astro Guide with her. But for me, there's not a lot of places that this type of kit is actually useful. So normally I would say she's fodder, but because of our Jubilee event, she would be a cheap Evo 3 Nat 4. And I will probably make her, but I've already Evo 3 a water one, I've already Evo 3 a light one, and a dark one. So this is kind of just something to do for me at this point in the game. If you're a new player and your resources are fairly limited, then you really have to decide if it's worth it for you. We don't get these type of events very often. And I actually don't think I have seen them rerun a fusion event before. So those are things to consider. So so you might want to do the wood one just because it's a rare event, just to go ahead and get her to Evo 3, because you'll probably never focus on her and Evo 3 her for any other reason, especially to put those type of resources into a monster that you probably won't use. So this might be an opportunity to do that. But priority wise, we're going to move on to the light one. The light one is probably the top tier Victoria that is available, and fortunately everyone has access to at least one light Victoria. So she is a defense aggressor, and defense aggressors tend to be fairly weak because of when it comes to a death break, which is unfortunate. But the light Victoria has been a staple for many players since she's been introduced into the game. She's immensely useful in stabilizing a number of teams. So she can so early in the game, she can stabilize your, so if you're having trouble with story mode, she might help you stabilize your story mode teams. She's definitely was the number one monster to help players early in the life of MSL get into Golden Speed 10, and she can still be used in that way if you can get her defense high enough, and you can get the right supporting monsters around her. She can definitely help newer players who might not have access to some of the light monsters we've had over the past few months. She might help them still get into Golden Speed 10 if that is something important to you. And then the other thing is, there have been some suggestions in the past on Reddit that we will eventually get her as a super evolution monster. So like the Dark Miho, or the Mihos right now have been the super Evo monsters. Eventually, there has been suggested that we will see the Victorias become a super Evo monster. And this special dungeon actually might be alluding to us moving closer and closer to the time when that actually happens. And so, she's going to definitely be something that a lot of players focus on, the Super Evo in the future. But out of the Victorias, the light one is probably one of the ones that should be prioritized on anyone's team if you haven't gotten her to Evo 3 yet. And to move on, we've got the Dark Victoria. So her kit is she's a little bit hard to build because she is crit dependent. So like the Wood Victoria, she does have a stun on her first skill, but unlike the Wood Victoria, her stun is 100% as long as she crits. And now anytime you build a monster on crit, you're kind of giving up the potential for either an attack type gem or a damage type gem versus a gem that kind of makes the monster tankier, just to build them on crit. But you know, like I've talked about before, the way she is built is lends itself very well to helping players get through Dragons B10. So the stun really and you know, so I'm not gonna go into that, guys, because if you want to see, you know, more of the breakdown of Dark Victoria, I've talked a lot about it in my Dragons videos, so definitely check out the Dragons videos. But suffice it to say, Dark Victoria is great in my opinion for Dragons B10. So out of all of the Victorias, I do think in normal circumstances, Wood and Fire are fodder. Because Water is farmable, you can consider her as fodder too. And so you can always throw those into your lighter Dark Victorias. Eventually you will need to Evo 3 a Water Victoria, but if you're like me, I don't have 3 Shivas yet, 3 extra Shivas, so I've just been keeping my my Victorias, or sorry, my fusion monsters. I've just set them aside until I actually have 3 Shivas so that I can Evo 3 a light Shiva before I actually fuse him, because I don't see a point in making him when I can't Evo 3 him yet. But that's just what I do, what I'm doing right now. But eventually you will need a Water Victoria if you want to make a light Shiva. Everyone should. Light Victoria is a staple, and I think it's good for everyone to have her at Evo 3, especially if you anticipate the upcoming Super Evolution. And I don't know, guys, maybe for some reason the Wood one will be super OP when she's super evolved. I have no idea. So maybe that's another reason to think about Evo 3ing her during the Jubilee event. I can't say. But the other thing is the dark one is great to have. So the top tier Victorias, in my opinion, definitely are light, dark, and water. And if you want to make the Wood one, you can do that because of the Jubilee event right now, the Jubilee Fusion event. But outside of that, guys, I think I have said enough, and I'm going to sign off. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it helped you decide what to do during this fusion event. And oh, actually, so I saw a question earlier before I cut off this video. If you don't know how to get and it's probably kind of late. If you don't know how to get the Wood and the Water Jubilee, you just go into story mode and you go into extreme. And so extreme has the fire one, and hard has the exotic, has the water one, and normal has the wood one. So farm those stages if you need those for the fusion event while it's still going on. But yeah, guys, so with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching, and definitely subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and I will see you next time.